Hey guys, Kirbonic Pikmin here to announce I have a serious fucking problem. A few months ago, I finally decided to throw away any reservations I had and give the Touhou series a full shake. And ever since then, I've been engulfed into Touhou hell with no form of escape. Not that I ever want to, that is. I've come to love just about everything in this series. The music, the characters, the lore, the rich world, and many other things. It's become one of my favorite franchises of all time. I'm sure you've noticed a small influx of Touhou content on my channel, but as much as I'd love to, I'm not here to talk about the mainline series, at least not right now. That's something I'd love to talk about at length some other day. What I am here to do is pay special attention to what I genuinely believe is one of the greatest fandoms I've ever interacted with, the Touhou fandom. Ever since I finally jumped into this series, and by extension this fanbase, they have consistently provided me with some of the most excellent and passionate fanworks I've ever seen, beating out even the Sonic series in my eyes, and this is coming from a very, very devout Sonic fan. From fantastic remixes and fan albums to some of the best fan art I've ever seen, even fantastic fan-made doujin stories, and even fanfics, the level of quality and love is unprecedented. Sadly, I'm not here to talk about any of that. What I am here for is one very specific topic, the Fangames of Touhou. Due to the creator Zoom's very lax policies on fan work, Touhou fans are able to create and even sell their own derivative works for the Touhou series, leading to a lot of unique takes on the franchise that you wouldn't see anywhere else besides from the fans. And what that has led to is an absolute excess of fantastic fan games. But since there are so fucking many Touhou fan games, and I've already played potentially too many for one lifetime, I decided instead of individually reviewing each one I greatly enjoy on my channel, which would absolutely flood my channel with Touhou content even more than it already is, I should start up a new series, one where I look at a handful of Touhou fan games I've recently played and thoroughly enjoyed. So I handpicked 3 of the Touhou fan games I've enjoyed the most and have come to talk about them and what I've enjoyed about them at a decent length. If you like this series and want me to do more, or think I should talk about one of the games I go over in this video in a longer video such as a full-form review or opinion piece, let me know in the comments below. But for the time being, please enjoy as I give the first exhibition of Touhou's fantastic fan games. I don't think I could make a better start to the series than talking about one of the 2 games that truly got me invested in the Touhou series. While the first Touhou game I ever played at all was Touhou 6, I never truly got beyond the 4th stage of the game and was still relatively green to the whole series. No, the game that would truly get me into the series, the one that would get me to go back to Touhou 6 and actually complete and even once see it and then go on to the rest of the series, would be none other than Touhou Lunar Nights. Off the bat, I'm going to admit, I consider this one of the best things to come out of the Touhou IP, period. Purely from its design alone, I consider this not only one of the best Touhou games I've ever played, but also one of the best 2D Metroidvanias as well. Made by Team Ladybug, who had previously made Shin Megami Tensei Synchronicity Prologue and is currently working on Record of Lodoss War, both of which were also Metroidvanias, which shows their penchant for the genre. I've yet to play either of those, however, so as of now I can only talk about Lunar Nights, but goddamn can I talk about Lunar Nights. In this game, you take control of the elegant and perfect maid of the Scarlet Devil Mansion, Sakia Izumi. Yes, that is her full title. As you frolic about in a world made by her mistress, Familia Scarlet, for her enjoyment. This world is a sprawling recreation of the Scarlet Devil Mansion, fully explorable in beautiful pixel style. In usual Touhou fashion, the plot is nothing crazy, but it serves to open a fantastic gameplay experience. If you're at all aware of Sakia Izumi, you know what she's capable of. Time manipulation, and expert knife throwing, and she puts those abilities to very good use in this game, with time slowing, time freezing, and several variations of knives at her disposal. While her moveset isn't incredibly expansive, that's made up for how deep and interactive every part of her moveset is with the environment. Lunar Knight's small item pool leads to some of the most creative and inventive usage of a character's abilities with the environment and level design in any 2D platform or Metroidvania I've ever seen. With her time freezing and time slowing be able to affect every aspect of the hazards, from making water a solid platform in frozen time, or platforms, enemies, and hazards only moving in stop time, enemies that are completely unaffected by stop time, and even more. Hell, even your own basic knives can be turned to platforms that you can jump off of if you freeze time immediately after throwing them. With such a strong base set of abilities, the expansive level design becomes a joy to explore, and if you explore, in typical Metroidvania fashion, you are bound to find upgrades, which come in the form of upgrades to your base stats such as health or how long you can freeze time, as well as more special attacks, which range from a durable chainsaw to an electrical knife to my favorite, a volley of 1,000 knives, which is absolutely fucking killer for boss fights. Speaking of bosses, Lunatics has one of the absolute best rosters of bosses I've ever seen in Metroidvania. While there's only about 6 or 7 total, they make up for it in astounding quality. The movesets are very varied, they have several different attacks to throw out, as well as dozens of ways to deal with said attacks to your strong moveset capabilities, and they're all multi-staged. They all show strong boss design of different types as well, and are honestly all very deserving of a video on analyzing them on their own, which is something that I'd love to do in the future. One thing I've been skating around is the music, which is fucking phenomenal. While that may not be the highest praise for a franchise that prides itself on godlike music, I need to emphasize how truly eargasm-worthy the music of Lunatics score is. Every track is an earworm in a fantastic remix of a beloved track from the series. Some I find to be at their absolute best here. Not a single track is a miss, and it is so good I honestly even bought the fucking soundtrack for it. Don't regret that at all. I have literally no complaints with this game. The only one I could see is the potential complaint of the overuse of Touhou 6 in Fangames, but I absolutely adore Touhou 6, so that wouldn't even be on my mind. Touhou Lunatics is a fucking masterful video game, and if you're even remotely interested in the franchise or a Metroidvania fan at all, I couldn't recommend this game anymore. It's only $18 on Steam, and you've got nothing to lose. Please, go buy it. Now this fan game well and truly surprised me, being one I played pretty recently too. I thought I was just gonna get a simple little 2D platform with some basic action mechanics, but what I ended up getting was fucking 2D DMC featuring a girl with a peach on her hat. Tempest of the heavens and earth, everyone. As someone who absolutely adores action games and is always looking for a way to satiate that thirst, I can say that Tempest completely quenched said thirst. In this game, you play as Tenchi Hinanawi, a celestial who was introduced in Touhou 10.5, and caused a lot of shit in that game. Her actions have come back to haunt her, which led to the incident in this game, where continuous earthquakes are causing havoc in Jinseokyo, and she sets out to stop it. This leads to a heavily combat-based platform. Now, since Tenchi is a fucking physical powerhouse with a cool-ass set of abilities, she puts all of that to use and creates a combat system that is absolutely far deeper than it has any right to be. There is a wealth of close combat options with context-sensitive combo options based on the direction you're holding, or how long you hold the button, and several aerial launches to continue your combos in the air. Since this is still a Touhou game, you have plenty of ranged options with over a dozen different shot types to choose from and experiment with, as well as several different spell cards to use. Lead to more depth in combos and heavier hitting attacks. On top of all of that, there's even access to 4 swappable and completely customizable styles that you actively swap between the 4 styles in combat, and allow for you to tailor make your moveset and have access to 4 completely different shot types and spell cards at all times in combat. You can even instantly toggle and change your style's attributes just by pausing the game, deepening the creativity and allowance for the experimentation even further. The constant accumulation of spirit points means you're constantly able to level up and gain more abilities, giving you continuous moveset progression as you can tailor your playstyle to fit yourself perfectly. All that customization has to be used for something though, right? That's where the stages and bosses come in. You're ranked at the end of every stage on several attributes, from combo variety to the different abilities you use, to even how well you take advantage of the game's various mechanics, such as the weather system, which is brought over from 10.5 and 12.3 for fighters, a system which you are in complete control of and can use to help turn the tides of battle. The level design not only gives you a playground of varied enemies to play around with, but also lots of unique ways of level traversal by taking advantage of the weather system. The bosses are also all fantastically designed. None of the boss rosters worth being analyzed on their own. With the insane amount of options you have, there's dozens of ways to go about fighting every boss, leading to an intense feeling of satisfaction as you pull it off perfectly and pulverize the boss. To incentivize the replayability, bosses even have multiple phases, one of which can only be accessed if you perform really well on the boss's previous phases. This is all topped off by, once again, a fucking outstanding soundtrack. It helps intensify every boss encounter and make the stages more of a joy to go through. I have to point out how absolutely godlike the drum work on some of these songs are, with the game containing my favorite versions of Lunatic Eyes and Crimson in the Black Sea. Once again, this game goes for extremely cheap on Steam, with it only being about $14, and while the game may be short, about 6 stages, it makes up for its short length with being incredibly replayable through its ranking system, new Game Plus option, and several extra modes such as boss rushes and combo packs. Yet another game I couldn't recommend enough. I mentioned earlier that there were 2 Touhou fan games that truly got me into the series. The first is Luna Nights, but what about the second? Well, it's a bullet hell for one, but not in the way the mainline games typically are. No, this is a side-to-side shoot-em-up as opposed to a top-down, bottom-to-top curtain fire shooter. This game is Touhou Azure Reflections. Azure Reflections is, once again, a revisit to the Scarlet Mist series, with a minor twist of things. You can play as Reimu, Marissa, and Sienna, each character with 3 shot types to their name, and different dialogue and interactions on each route. Fully voiced dialogue too. And I think all the VAs do a great job with their roles. But, let's move on to the gameplay now. This was a game that made me realize I really enjoy bullet hell gameplay. While not traditional Touhou by any means, it still captured the essence of its frantic bullet dodging nature perfectly in my opinion, and added quite a few new mechanics that not only made it fun to play, but also a fantastic starting off point for newcomers. This game is a lot more forgiving than most Touhou games. Its default playstyle allowing for you to be hit once before being put into a stun state, where if you're hit again, you lose a life. You're able to turn this off for the normal die and hit mode forever. There's also a massive amount of customization options for your characters, which besides either making them look adorable or completely fucking hilarious, can change their attributes, as well as altering the game, allowing you to tailor the difficulty to something that suits you, which you might want to do on the higher difficulties. Some of the options range from changing your hitbox size to giving yourself more lives or bombs, increasing the amount of points or power you gain from defeated enemies, shortening the amount of time you're stunned for, making a character play like another, or alterations to how your Danmaku rushes. Speaking of the Danmaku rush, that's a mechanic that's brand new to this game. It creates a barrier around you and allows you to fly around the screen for a limited amount of time, absorbing any bullets you touch along the way. The more bullets you absorb, the more damage you'll do if you charge into an opponent. This mechanic allows you to play more aggressively, and can even allow for you to one-shot entire boss phases. Well-timed usage of this mechanic can be incredibly fun, and I personally thought it was a really good addition. The combination of really exhilarating bullet hell gameplay with assaults coming from all sides, the new Danmaku rush mechanic, the customization, and all the bosses being pretty fun to master and take down leads to an incredibly fun and extremely replayable game. The soundtrack again is also very notable, with some really good arrangements present. This game has my personal favorite rendition of Satori Maiden Third Eye in particular. I love the way they arranged it. The game even offers more incentive to replay it besides the slow unlocking of various customization options, with a library feature which is filled to the brim with character bios and little analysis on the characters and their relations with one another. You unlock more and more to read as you complete more of the game, based on various difficulties and other characters, which is something I adore. Bestiaries and bios are always immediate brownie points for me, and I think it was done fantastically here. You can get a cool little model view and everything. I overall completely adored this game. I've sunk about 50 hours into it. I've got every single achievement, and it even got me to gain the courage to try out the mainline Bullet Hell series and give another shot at Touhou 6, which led to me completing and once seeing it, something I couldn't thank the game enough for. If I didn't play Zero Reflections as much as I did and enjoy it so thoroughly, I doubt I would have gotten to the rest of the mainline games and enjoyed them as deeply as I did. This game is available on Steam and Switch for about $25 and goes on sale frequently enough. If you're interested in the Touhou franchise at all, I think this is a particularly good starting point if you're too intimidated by the main series, especially with all the accommodations for new players that the game makes. I know it made a good starting point for me. Well, I feel I've done enough praising of these three games. Lunar Nights, Tempest, and Zero Reflections are some of my favorite Touhou fan games around, and some of my favorite games I played this year period. So if I was even able to slightly pique your interest in them, then I've done my job. But my exploration of Touhou fan media isn't over yet. There's an insane amount of Touhou fan games out there, and I've got quite a few myself. And by quite a few, I mean well over 20, and that number is only growing. So as I play more Touhou fan games, expect to see more exhibitions of Touhou's fantastic fan games. If you have any recommendations of fan games, let me know down below. I hope you all enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time. Also, before I go, I need to say, holy fuck, Touhou 17.5 looks phenomenal. I cannot wait to play this fucking game. I know it's not a fan game, and I probably shouldn't be talking about it here, but I don't know when I'll be talking about Touhou again, and I really want to express how fucking good this game looks. Holy shit, why does every song in it sound like a fucking Kirby game? Marissa's theme is literally a Kirby song, and you all know how I feel about Kirby. I need this fucking game as soon as possible. Jesus Christ. Anyways, bye for real.